I talked about reasons and I talked about results. What are the results of Tyrone Crawford? If you get ready to cut him or if you move around with that type of pick, would that be better for the team? We had a reason of going out and getting this guy an extension a while back, and we said we thought that he was going to be a profitable or formidable player for us on the line, and it just been okay. We
Yeah.
go 3 to 1. We
I
had him
mean,
everywhere. So, what are your thoughts on
yeah.
that?
I just think that they've kind of tampered with him a little too much as far as changing his position and all of that, moving him around too much. I think you kind of found glimpses of. I don't think, first of all, that he was necessarily ever had the ceiling that they thought he had. And then I think that they kept trying to move him around to find ways in which he could be more effective. Or our defense had, a glaring weakness somewhere else. So even though it wasn't his strength, they tried plugging him there to try and, improve things. I just think that it's moved him around so much, it's kind of stunted his development where he's kind of just okay in any scenario you put him in, as opposed to being, the impactful guy that his money would suggest or his salary should suggest that he is. So that's kind of my take on it. James, what do you think?
I mean, I think the same thing. I mean, they had an article, and I think it was 4 players. I can't remember the fourth, but they named 4 players. It was Byron Jones, Chaz Green, Tyrone Crawford, and someone else, where they don't keep them in the same spot, and it's hurt them. I mean, you can see even with La'el Collins, they did it with him. He came in, he was a tackle guard, but more tackle at LSU. They moved him to guard because they were trying to put that spot because they knew Ron Leary was possibly going to end the free agency. They still, were had a concern with that knee because the reason why he was not drafted because he had that medical flag of the degenerate knee. So
Yep.
you draft Collins and then you slide him in at the guard position. Well, guess what? And this is my personal opinion about that. Collins was good, but Ron Leary was better. But they kept Collins there because guess what? You spent that money, all that money on him as an undrafted player, and you're trying to push him to the next level. So Ron Leary got pushed out. And so then you see, now Ron Leary's gone. Where Doug Free's gone. Now let's move him to tackle. Now it's like, is he a guard? Is he a tackle? Now you got to keep him at one spot, and it's going to stunt his growth. And they've done the same thing with Byron Jones, Tyrone Crawford. I remember when they were talking about Tyrone Crawford, I remember reading about him on NFL.com. He was one of the up and ups. He was on the all under 22 top players on the up and up because of what he did at that three technique. But they fooled with him. They gave him that contract. Even though he didn't have great numbers, they gave him that contract on potential. So if you gave him that contract on potential as a three tech, why would you move him outside, back out to the defensive end where daggone well that's not what he was good at?
Good talk on that, James. Let me tell you something, and I got my theory on this altogether. Coddling, right? We talked about that earlier. When I'm talking about this coddling, they coddled the hell out of Doug Free. They wanted Doug Free on that right tackle side. Now, anybody with their right collective mind, I wouldn't even try to put La'el Collins versus Ron Leary. I would try to figure out a way to keep Ron Leary. I think that they should have tendered Ron Leary. I think that they should have kicked La'el Collins out there with Doug Free and have him to challenge Doug Free. But since this team loved their players so much, Doug Free could have been still on his team last year. Remember, he walked away from the game. But a lot of people not talking about that. A lot of people not talking about that. Doug Free was such enamored by this organization that they coddled him and they never challenged his position, and that's why they flexed him out. That's why they never flexed La'el Collins out there to right tackle. That's just my crazy theory of this all.
It's not no crazy theory, Law. You're
You think
talking the real.
you think that's
It's not.
factual, right? Yeah.
It is very factual. I think that's the problem with Dallas. I mentioned on the Silver and Blue Nation show, if you want to check that out, folks, if you'd ever listen, I said that that was the biggest thing that's been Dallas's problem is that we do coddle our players. We get star players. We don't bring competition behind them. I said, if you look at the top programs, Ohio State University, Alabama, every single year, they may have one of the most dominant running backs, receivers out. Guess what? The next year you got the best one coming right behind him. And if you don't handle your business, you're going to get your spot took because it's all about competition and the best players play. But see, Dallas, we get a top player, and then we don't want nobody to mess with his position, and so we just get an average player behind him so he don't challenge him. And then what happens? Top player gets hurt, a very average player comes in, we fall the hell off because we don't want to get a player that's going to. I mean, look at what we had with Romo. Look at what Dez. We don't look how long we could have drafted another top receiver with Dez Bryant plenty of times, but we didn't want nobody to challenge Dez because he was the alpha. So we didn't want nobody to challenge him. So there was times we could have got receivers that could have been dominant 1-2 punch. But no, let's just get a Terrence Williams, somebody who we know is a number 2, who ain't gonna challenge Dez. And it hurts us because what happens when Dez Bryant get hurt? And Dez Bryant does get hurt. What happened when Dez Bryant went out and Terrence Williams had to step up and be the number 1 role? What happened? We fell off. It was 2015 when Dez Bryant got hurt. Terrence Williams had to take the lead role, and what happened? We tried it for Bryce Butler because we had no receivers. Is that not correct?
And you're speaking right on the money too, as well with that. And we get that so many oftentimes where the coaching staff saying, "Well, we're gonna feature T. Will as the number 1 receiver this week," and we sitting there like, as fans, we even without the access of seeing practice, we saying like, "Wait a minute now, hold on, say again." Up, you can chalk that down as a L. You know what I mean?
Because you knew we weren't winning when Dez goes down, and we didn't have anybody as an adequate backup. Come on, all Cowboys fans, we knew, man, who we gonna throw the ball to? Let's be honest. Like, we can all say the horky dorky when we're behind. Let's be honest. When Dez Bryant went down, we were all like, "Well, there goes the passing game." Because who you really believe in? Terrence Williams going to get 8-9 catches in the game and is going to make a difference? Really? You don't believe that? And we never played Bryce Butler enough to really believe that. And as much as we love Jason Witten, he's not a scary threat. No teams are scared of Jason Witten. I'm sorry. We can all love Jason Witten. He's a Hall of Famer, whatever. No teams are scared of him. No team's game plan for Jason Witten no more. That's just the facts, okay? And that's just reality. If we don't get the type of players that can make those differences, teams ain't scared of us.
And not to speak around in circles. Come on. I know the people that's going to go back and review this, and they're going to say, well, we won against Chicago. We won against the 49ers when Dez was out. Well, when Dez was in the Chicago game. But you know what I mean? We won against Green Bay, 49ers. I think we won against Cincinnati when Dez was out. And they put up some nice, good numbers, but you fail to realize, people that put up these stats, you had Zeke the Freak out there. And that changed a whole lot of complexion of the game. So with that being said, I still want a wide receiver, explosive guy. Maybe we can find in the 3rd round. Maybe we can find someone in the 4th round, because this wide receiving draft is loaded. But if you can't find them in those type of rounds, there are known commodities, and the known commodity will be, guess what? The free agency. And if Stephen Jones don't understand, that's how you can just had to sprinkle the little pieces on the game to elevate this roster, then we're forever going to be in the same 9-7, 8-8 field.
Yeah, I think that they're not gonna sign a big name free agent receiver. I don't think. I think they're gonna draft Dez's successor here in this draft. And I mean, really, you look at Steven's comments the other day. He's opening that door to Dez's departure wider and wider every day, every time he opens his mouth to talk on the subject. He in that same 25-minute interview at the Combine, he compared Dez's eventual departure to the departures of Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, and Troy Aikman. I mean, he's really, really kind of pushing that narrative that like, oh, well, we love him, but at the same time, we understand it's a business. And, in other interviews, he's talked about, we love Dez, but, at some point there's, attitude problems to kind of take into consideration, and it's a distraction and all of that. I mean, every time he speaks, he is making it more and more clear that he's leaning towards getting him. And I think it's more behind the scenes, probably Jerry wanting to keep him. Mm-hmm. And I think you're probably seeing Steven on the other side of that camp. And I think even today, Jason Garrett kind of fell in line behind that when, he spoke, kind of glowingly about their love for Dez too. But then when asked about the whole thing about bringing him back for next year, his response was just like,
we'll see.
Well, yeah, we're not talking about personnel decisions yet like that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
we love Dez, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's very clear. And I think you're seeing a lot of the higher ups, whether in the coaching staff or in the office, getting behind Steven. And I imagine Jerry, we know Jerry in particular gets attached to these guys. He's probably on that other side of it, wanting to hang on to them. T.O. was another Stephen Jones decision, by the way.
Stephen Jones. So that was T.O. Decision there. And I think that with that being said, a lot of people fail to realize when they cut T.O., who was the guy that they went and got? They went and got Dez. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they did. Right after that. Right after that, they drafted his success. They went as soon as they got rid of T.O., that's who they targeted in the draft, a top-notch receiver, because that's who they were going after. So I don't know if that happens. My thing is just like if you feel like you're going to get rid of Dez, make sure you have a successor. But at the end of the day, just like you mentioned, Law, I seen those games in 2016 when Dez was hurt. We did not fall off. Our offense did not fall off. Actually, our offense was really good. And I'm not disrespecting Dez, but our offense was productive without him. We did not fall off because Dez Bryant did not play in the game. And so many times in my heart, I would feel like, dang, Dez is hurt. Now what we going to do? But as I saw, we didn't need that lead dog when Dak was in the team. And Dak is the focus. If they're making the Dak-friendly offense, Dak didn't need a number one receiver to be functional. He needed a lot of good receivers. When he had those other guys, when Dez was out, Dak had good numbers. Because if you really look at it, he didn't have to feel he had to force the ball to any one person now. He could throw it freely to everyone. When Dez is on the team, no matter what anybody says, that ball has got to go to him. And even Bryce Butler said, we dog Bryce Butler for what he said, but yeah, he probably shouldn't have said what he said, but he probably ain't coming back to the team. So he probably was like, I can say what I want, bro, because I probably ain't come back here. But he said that people upstairs would say, hey, Dez needs to get the ball. That's what Bryce Butler said. Dez needs to get the ball. So why do we believe that Jerry Jones is not saying, hey, why ain't Dez getting the ball? And if Jerry Jones says it, the ball's going to Dez Bryant.
Got to listen to the man that pay the bills. And it's one of those things, man. We look at it from the aspect of when Romo was trying to merge onto being the leader of the team. I remember the media always saying, there's no true leader down there in Dallas. Who's the leader of the big D? T.O. is not the leader, Then when T.O. left the team, that's when they said, okay, now Tony Romo can take over the team. And that's what happened. Tony Romo was then able to take over the team. People fail to realize Dez Bryant been in the league for 7 years?
Been there since 2010.
This guy, Dak Prescott, was in high school. So you can talk about the impressions the person will have on a player, and what they say, it's gonna always say, okay, I'm still starstruck. This guy saying, give me the ball, I'm gonna exit out everybody else, and I'm gonna try to focus on this guy because I seen what he done before. And that people fail to realize that counts a lot in the National Football League. Somebody that's having that type of impression, personality, and having that type of temperament out there. It can be contagious. It can be like, okay, I'm going to focus in. Not saying that Dak Prescott is such a gullible guy, but it could happen,
The Dallas Prospect is doing happy hour. Join us Thursday, March 22nd at Mexico Restaurant and Club in Plano, Texas, as we host happy hour and do a live remote and meet and greet. Tell them you're there for the Dallas Prospect and you'll receive exclusive food and drink specials with happy hour pricing for the whole night and entrees as low as $5. In attendance will be Law Nation, Big Game James, Derek Kirby, and our special guest, Computer from 3-6 Mafia. Shirts and other merch will be available for purchase, so come out, have a drink with your favorite Dallas Prospect hosts, and don't wait. RSVP today. Let's make it happen.